Ambassador of Italy to Sudan, His Excellency Gianluigi Vassallo. You are highly welcome. We continue also. We are here in this amazing hall, which belongs to Comboni College of Science and Technology. And Comboni College belongs to the Catholic Church. And we are here, and among us we have also this great man and humble man also, His Grace. Do you know who is he? His Grace, Miguel. You are highly welcome over here. And also allow me also to welcome also UNESCO country representative to Sudan, Dr. George Papagiannis. You are highly welcome, Dr. George. And we're happy also to have here with us also the representative of American Embassy to Sudan. You are highly welcome. And we are also happy to welcome also the Vice Dean of the College of Comboni College of Science and Technology, Prof. Mohammed Al-Fakir. You are highly welcome, Professor. And also we are very happy also to welcome also the Secretary of Academic Affairs of Comboni College of Science and Technology, Prof. As. You are highly welcome. And also we are very happy also to welcome the Chairperson of Culture and Heritage Commissioner, which belongs African Union of Architects. Architect Nour Al-Regeig. You are highly welcome, Professor. And also we are very happy also to welcome all the doctors and all the professors also of Comboni College of Science and Technology and the other universities and also the archaeologists of the other universities and the local and international archaeologists. Within them also Dr. Haytham Abdelmunim. You are highly welcome. And we cannot forget also to welcome also our dear people here in the hall and also in our beloved country Sudan. The nuns, the Combonian sisters, who just celebrated few days ago their 100 years as present here in Sudan. You are highly welcome, Combonian sisters. And also we are very happy also to welcome also the important person for us also, Father Jorge Naranjo, Wakil Kuliya. And also we are very happy also to welcome also through the line, through the Zoom, she's going to be with us. For some reason she's now in Istanbul, but she's going to say hi, to greet us, and now she's already hearing us. So we are happy also to welcome Professor, the former Minister of Higher Education, Professor Intisar Sughayroun. You are highly welcome, you are listening to us. And also we'd like to welcome also Dr. Ikhlas Abdellatief Ahmed. You are highly welcome, Dr. Ikhlas. And also we'd like to welcome the one who made it, who crossed all over the world, who crossed the sea to come to Sudan and to make for us this opening exhibition. He's looking right and left. He's the one. Dr. Francesco Tiradritti. You are highly welcome in your second country, Sudan. And welcome each one of you. I know all of you are VIPs. You are very important. And some they just get in, so you are highly welcome. Look at your neighbor and tell him, welcome to Father Giovanni Vantini exhibition. You are highly welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, now we are going to have the first word. Now we're going to have the first knowledge, the first wisdom. The first things will be from the ambassador of Italy to Sudan. He's going to tell us how the embassy of Italy to Sudan, they contribute to archaeology of Sudan. Let us welcome together His Excellency Gianluigi Vassallo. You are highly welcome, Your Excellency.
Good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome to the Comboni College as we join to celebrate the life and work of Giovanni Vantini. And thank you also for the lovely introduction with all the excellency and great men I've heard. I was getting a little confused, but thank you anyway. I think that's the right spirit when you pointed out that despite whatever hurdles our everyday life throws at us, we actually did it, and we're here today for this happy occasion. So, once again, thank you, each and every one of you, for being here. I would like to begin with a few words of thanks, which I think are due. First of all, I'd like to once again acknowledge the contribution by the Comboni College of Science, Technology, and its principal, Father Jorge Meranco, who's been working with us for many years in the field of culture, and he's helped us put together this initiative. Thank you always for your cooperation, which is precious to us. And I'd like to acknowledge the work of Professor Francesco Tiradritti. I believe he got one thing wrong in his presentation when he said, I made the proposal. It was actually his idea as a former student of Father Vantini, as someone who knew him when I hadn't even come to Sudan. He came to me and said, something must be done to celebrate the significance of this figure, which was pivotal in so many ways. And the more I came to learn about Giovanni Vantini, the more I agreed with him. So here we are. Thank you, Francesco. Thank you very much. And among the many people whom I have to thank for being here today, I would particularly like to acknowledge the presence among us of the Apostolic Nuncius, Muñoz, Cardaba. When I introduced you as Luis Miguel, I could but remember that in my days, Luis Miguel without a surname in Italy was a singer. But things change. And UNESCO country director to Sudan, George Papagiannis, and US Chargè, Tamlyn, and their husband George. We're delighted to have you with us. So, why are we actually here today to remember Giovanni Vantini? What is his significance to our work today, and for me as an Italian ambassador in the bilateral relationship between Italy and Sudan? I can think of no better words to start than Vantini's own. In an interview he gave a few years back to my predecessor Lorenzo Angeloni, who asked him the same question. How is it you came to Sudan? Vantini had arrived in July 1949, even before independence. And why was that? He said, no, I was going to go to Tuscany, and then the colleague who had to come to Sudan fell ill, and they had to send someone, and they ordered me to come. And I went where the church sent me, was a man of faith, and he didn't question his calling wherever he took him. So instead of Florence, he arrived in Khartoum, took a little detour. In many ways it was the opposite way that Francesco went from Montepulciano to Khartoum. There's a bond between Tuscany and Sudan that is unbreakable. And he found himself in Khartoum in those years, and my predecessor asked him, what were your impressions when you arrived here? What impressed you most? What did you think of Sudan coming from Italy in the 1950s? And he said, impressions. I was enthusiastic about the work. There was health, there was freedom, no restriction to movement. Trips were quite important for me, because traveling to Wadi Halfa from Khartoum and spending there weeks at a time, I could see for myself and get to know so many things. That was the time of the archaeological missions. For instance, I met them in the street when I went for a walk after Mass. And as you diplomats do, good morning, bonjour, you started a conversation which would inevitably end up with an invitation to visit the excavations being conducted. I took a look, I photographed, and I made notes. And then another important thing is curiosity that that is Vantini, have always had plenty of. I'm a curious man. I wanted to know everything that Arab and other Eastern historians had written on Nubia. Thankfully, I had plenty of time. It took 32 hours on a train from Khartoum to Wadi Halfa in those days, so you can do quite a bit of reading in 32 hours, actually. And you were there in trains which were quite comfortable, Vantini said. There were Belgian archaeologists, French archaeologists, German archaeologists, Americans, Poles, all of them connected to the excavations, all of them digging, all of them researching. It was the heyday of archaeology in Sudan. You could only be or become interested. There was so much to be done, there was so much work, there was so much enthusiasm. And so the guy would come to Sudan as a man of faith, became a scholar and one of the most knowledgeable ones about Nubian history and Nubian archaeology. He joined the excavation campaigns which the University of Rome began in 1967, and a number of others. And he wrote books that are still a reference today. What I'm trying to say, there's mainly 3 points I'd like to make. First of all, his life that others will deal with in greater detail shows us that cultural diplomacy, and archaeology in particular, is an effort by the people and for the people. We help, we provide platforms, we facilitate, we enhance, we encourage. We provide what I hope is the right framework with initiatives like this. But then it is for the civil society to provide the interest, the enthusiasm, the skills that are the substance of this labor of love. It was like that in the age of Giovanni Vantini. It was still like that today. Its significance is therefore connected to the fact that archaeology is conducive to better exploring and getting to know the identity of a people. If it weren't for those pioneering efforts, we would know a lot less about a significant part of the history of Sudan. About its partly Christian roots, and the wonderful work of art that they've produced. So that effort is instrumental. But excavating, digging is not enough. As we've learned in those hard days of the pandemic, where excavation campaigns were suspended, we turned to making sure that this work was known, which is just as important as the research work itself. If the citizens who are the beneficiaries of this work and the owners of the heritage do not know just how important it is what they have, the sustainability of this effort will not be ensured. And so, part of the significance of initiatives like that is to spread the awareness of the significance of the heritage of the people of Sudan as part of their identity, as an instrument of economic development, as an asset, as a treasure for them to preserve, for you to preserve, and to get to know better and better. That is why we're also working on initiatives aimed, it has been remembered before as we walk through the exhibition, initiatives aimed at training those working in the field of the promotion of cultural heritage. We've started little by little during the pandemic. We mean to do more. We will do more. Together with the students, the teachers, together with those involved with the research and archaeological work, and I would like to acknowledge through Dr. Ikhlas, who is here with us, the help that we get day by day by the ENCA and all of us who are active in these efforts. We couldn't do it without you, so 1,000 thanks. I think I've spoken too much, as I always do, but there were things I think deserve to be said. Thank you for your attention, and I look forward to an interesting afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Grace, Ambassador of Italy to Sudan. Your Grace. Gianluigi.
Your Grace.
Your Excellency. My friend is here, so sorry. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now we're going to the next speaker. We're going to have the UNESCO country representative to Sudan, Dr. George Papagiannis. You are highly welcome, Dr. George Papagiannis. He's going to tell us more about Ferrous and also Sangatino and the UNESCO campaign since 1960 until 1980. You are highly welcome, Dr. George.
Thank you very much for your kind introduction, and it is certainly a pleasure for me to be here, especially in the midst of some very, very important people, as our Master of Ceremonies has certainly highlighted. I'm happy to be included among them. This may be the first and the last time. I did not know about Father Vantini when I was first asked to put together some thoughts around this man, a man of God, a man of the people, and a man connected to this incredible desire to make history relevant for today. and visible by the Abu Simbel, the move of the Abu Simbel statues. And there is even a movie, a documentary, that is The World Saves Abu Simbel. And the reason for that was that 50 countries joined this effort and funded this, not only what we had up in Egypt, but it was here in Sudan as well. A great Nubian heritage here in Sudan. But this would be a race against time. And to this day, the Nubian campaign is really considered one of the greatest rescue efforts of archaeological treasures ever undertaken in modern time. It's truly a monumental effort to save what were the great, and are the great works of the Nubian civilization. The impact of the dam would stretch, as I mentioned, into Sudan, and it would set the stage, really, for Father Giovanni Vantini, a stage upon which he would step and would essentially define the rest of his life. Father Vantini worked with the Polish archaeologists in Faras and Sargentino, and from where the outstanding murals of the Cathedral of Faras and Sargentino originated. They are now part of the collection of the Christian Gallery at the National Museum of Sudan. But this was only the beginning of Father Vantini's extraordinary life and contributions to our collective understanding of history and what it means to us today. Father Vantini's published works, especially his Oriental sources concerning Nubia, which came out in 1975, were the basis for an understanding of Christian Nubia, not as a separate thread in the long history of the Sudan, but as part of the continuity of Sudanese civilization. He raised awareness of the Christian heritage of Sudan through his work on the three Christian kingdoms of Nabatea, Makuria, and Alwa. Father Vantini saw the cultural heritage, or that cultural heritage could play not only in deepening our understanding of the past, but making it relevant for generations to come. He introduced museum education and archaeological site visits for young people, exposing them to the legacy of which they were the inheritors. And although his work in part preceded the World Heritage Convention, there is really no question that he was a man ahead of his time. In the publication Rediscovering Christian Nubia, based on the research of Polish architects with whom he worked, we are introduced to Old Dongola and the important Christian history that is in that part of Sudan, once at the center of the kingdom of Makuria. And this work paving the way for Old Dongola to now be on the tentative list for UNESCO World Heritage. In other words, it is placed in a position where it would be considered to become part of the World Heritage of human civilization. And there's one thing that I think is important to mention about the World Heritage Program in this regard, the fact that we have 3 sites in Sudan. We have Jebel al-Baraka, we have Meroe, and we have the marine site on the coast of the Red Sea, the coral reefs of Sanganab and Old Dongola. Or Dunganab, I should say. What is precious about World Heritage and what makes a site that reaches World Heritage notable is what is called its outstanding universal value. Outstanding universal value, what does that mean? It means that any one of us could visit a World Heritage site and find ourselves connected to its message. And this is, I believe, what Father Vantini was trying to do every day as an archaeologist, as a researcher, but also as an educator. He was a man of intellectual rigor. He had soft eyes,
peaceful demeanor. He was an educator. He transmitted values and helped provide context and a more vivid picture of the ancient world and its relevance today. His legacy will forever be a part of who we are and what we hope to be. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Really amazing things. The representative of UNESCO to Sudan, Dr. George. Amazing things really what Father Vantini did really, and also what the European did before when they appealed all the European countries to call, to mention and to call the archaeologists to come and then to rescue whatever possible. Thank you very much for mentioning this. Ladies and gentlemen, now we have the link because Dr. Intisar Soghairoun, the former Minister of Education, of Higher Education in Sudan, she had to go to Istanbul, to Turkey for, as you know that she's archaeologist also, for the business. So that's why she would like to say hi, and if the internet is well, we're going to hear just direct from her. If not, she already recorded her video direct from Istanbul. So you can say hi to your brothers and sisters and to your students, Dr. Professor Intisar Soghairoun. Okay, so we are going to just go on, okay, please no? Yes, thank you. We are just going on just direct to the video that she recorded for us. Dr. Intisar Soghairoun, she is archaeologist and also she's going to tell us something about personal memories of Father Giovanni Vantini. And Dr. Intisar Soghairoun, her studies specialized in Fonj, but she knows more also about Father Vantini.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Dear ladies, gentlemen, honorable guests, all protocols observed. It gives me pleasure to be part of this event and to participate in the opening of the exhibition of late Father Giovanni Vantini, celebrating his life, his work, and his legacy. I regret my absence outside the country. I really wanted to be there with you physically in the conference hall of Comboni College of Science and Technology. I'm supposed to give some personal memories on Father Giovanni Vantini. Now, I was first got acquainted and introduced to Giovanni Vantini when my professor Al-Osman informed me that I need to consult Oriental sources concerning Nubia. And of course, the Oriental sources concerning Nubia is collected and translated by Father Giovanni Vantini and published as a field manual for excavators at the request of the Society for Nubian Studies, the Polish Academy of Science, and with other groups, which has been published in 1975. What is important about this manuscript is that it's not only figures or individuals, but other documents as well have been consulted, like Coptic documents from the 10th to 12th century, Coptic stelae of the 12th and 14th century, up to Tabadat al-Defalla and to the Funch Chronicles. He integrated and gathered all the writings concerning Nubia that hitherto have been scattered in sources written in Arabic and in other languages. Now, after I consulted that book, I started following his publications, books, and articles. In 1978, we have the history of Christianity in Nubia in Arabic, which was reworked in Italian, Christianity in Ancient Nubia in 1985. And we have the center of Mohammed Omar Bashir at Ahliya University, who again published the book in 1998. And actually, they are republishing his book Christianity in Sudan, which he published in 1981. Another book which has been through it is Rediscovering Christian Nubia, which has been published in 2009. translated into Arabic and published in 2013. And the last one is a compilation of the old work that have been conducted in the Sudan concerning Christianity, as well as adding more and more chapters to the already published book. When I came to the realm of articles, we have Christianity in Sudan in 1982, which had been published in African Affairs, Royal African Society, and another important article that is the remotest places reached by Nubians Christianity in Sudan. That is very interesting, as he cited archaeological evidence, anthropological evidence, and literary evidence. He presented it as a paper in a conference and published in the International Journal for Coptic, Meroitic, Ethiopian, and Related Studies in 1999. I must mention here, before concluding my speech, referring to his articles and his books, the Christianity in Sudan, in which he handled the heritage of Christian Nubia life 40 days, for example, the 40 days heritage, the plates, the evil eye, the rituals in Nuba Mountain, that means it's not only in river in Sudan, and therefore at the Medub, at the Berti, at the Belgic rituals, also among the Blue Nile and in the desert, like in Salima Oasis and the road of the 40 days, that is Darb al-Arba'in, and then in Khartoum in eastern Sudan, in the desert. And now we have more and more information about new Christian remains that's been discovered at the Kaab, that is west of Tumbula, and beside monasteries, and more information are coming from the desert area. It is very interesting to discover that. He referred even to Khartoum, because Khartoum for us is an area where the first evidence of Muslim tombstones have been found. Now, it is very clear that he was inspired by the rich history of the country. That is one thing. And the other thing is that he was remembered with affection by his Muslims and Christian friends. And again, he considered it important that the Sudanese should rediscover their own Christian origins, and Sudan was great long before it was. Muslims and Christian friends. And again, he considered it important that the Sudanese should rediscover their own Christian origins, and Sudan was great long before it was.
Okay, thank you very much, Wisdom. Once again, thank you, Professor Ikhlas. We received your message. It was very clear that. Thank you very much, Professor Ikhlas, the former Minister of Higher Education of Sudan. Now we are going to have another lady. And we're very happy that because these days in Sudan that the ladies Kandaka are going higher and higher. We have Professor Ikhlas, and now we're going to have another doctor also as a female. She was here after Father Giovanni Vantini, because Father Giovanni Vantini, he worked hard to level the first floor in the National Museum. And during the period of Najmuddin, the president of the National Museum, and she's going to witness that time and that thing. So let us welcome together Dr. Ikhlas Abdellatief. Ahmed, you are highly welcome, Dr. Ikhlas. She's the member of the National Corporation of Antiquities and Museums. You are highly welcome.
Thank you very much to give me this chance and share with you this event for Father Vantini, and also I would like, on behalf of the Director General of INCAM and my colleague, archaeologist colleague in the INCAM, I would like to give our appreciation for Father Vantini for his contribution in many aspects and many fields in the field of archaeology and in the field of museum. Father Vantini had many contributions in the INCAM as general in the INCAM and to the Sudan National Museum in particular. He was very interested in the scientific research in the field of the archaeology and the early history of the Christianity in Sudan, participated the International Nubian Campaign in the 16th of last century, and also he was a member of the Rome University mission, was work to save and study the church that located in the north of Sudan, which is known as the Songhai West Church. And also he had many research and papers which became reference for all the students that researching in this field. He contributed a lot to enriching the archaeological library in the National Corporation for Antiquities and the Museum. Contributed also in the Christianity Hall in the Sudan National Museum by explained and explained the concept of the frescoes and the painting, which is now displayed in the first hall in Sudan National Museum. Besides all this, besides that, he translated the text that written in Coptic or ancient Greece. Also in Sudan or in the Sudan National Corporation for Antiquities and Museum, we consider him, we consider Father Vantini. He was the first one who established the museum education in Sudan, which considered the most important rule that to link the schools and universities students with the museums, which now known as the museum education. It is one of the very important museums messages in all the world, and became this study became a scientific subject teaching in the universities and many of the institutions related to the museums, and archaeology and ancient history. And thanks again for Father Vantini, and thank you for giving us this chance to contribute with you this event. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ikhlas Abdellatief Ahmed. Thank you. She is the member of the National Corporation of Antiquities and Museums. It was wonderful, really. God bless you. Now we are going to have another speech. We are going to have another speech from Dr. Mahmoud Al-Tayeb. Dr. Mahmoud Al-Tayeb. Where is wisdom? Okay. Dr. Mahmoud Al-Tayeb is going to tell us more about Father Giovanni Vantini works at Feras. He's around. Thanks God. A big clap, please, for Dr. Mahmoud Al-Tayeb. Dr. Mahmoud Al-Tayeb is an author. He wrote more than 3 books, and also he wrote more than 45 significant articles, and mostly about Mongolia kingdoms, and also he translated a lot of archaeological books to Arabic to be understandable for the Arab people in Sudan, also in Mediterranean. You are highly welcome, Dr. Mahmoud Al-Tayeb.
Okay. Thanks a lot for this invitation. In fact, I was a member of the Sudan Antiquities Service. At that time, it was called like that. Then later on, I joined the Warsaw University, where I did my later works. First of all, I have already released because many of the things which I prepared to talk about has been already presented by other speakers. So I will just give some reflections. First of these reflections, my first knowledge about somebody, magnificent man called Father Vantini, when I was in the third year of our university studies. His friend, one of his close friends, Dr. Stefania Kubelski, told us about Father Vantini and his role in Farah's excavations. In fact, that shows us how he was interested in the archaeological works and to educate young people, because his role was at that time to bring with him many students and pupils from Khartoum up to Faras to show them the work there. So through these visits, he had very good relations with the team members, especially with the head of the mission, late Professor Kazimierz, who gave him all the possibilities to see the documents and the work, how the work is done, and so on and so on. Thanks to that work, his PhD was written before even the Polish work was finished. He wrote about Faras as a PhD dissertation, which has been later on, he wrote it in Italian, but it was published in English in 67, exactly in English. And thanks to his PhD dissertation, the interested people and archaeologists, especially in the Christian era, were aware about the importance of Faras. Even he did it before the Polish team has published whatsoever about Faras. And that drew great attention to this work and to the period itself. That I think, according to me, that was the first step that the outside world, not only archaeologists and the scientists, but the outside world started to hear something about Christian Nubia. Then he continued his work. The most magnificent, which he did, the gathering of the information about the Christian Nubia from different sources, collected in this publication, which has been mentioned by Professor Intisar, sources, Oriental sources about Christian Nubia. But what was for me the most impressive, when I met Father Vantini many times in Khartoum here during my work in the Antiquities service, personal, something which is quite amazing. Father Vantini, as he told me, never took a note with him. If you want to tell him about his telephone number or address or whatsoever, it's just enough to tell him once about the address or the number. Then he put it in his memory. I have never heard about something like that. I think he deserved such a meeting and to be with us all the time, because in his work he is with us all the time. I have nothing more to say about that.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mahmoud. Thank you, really. It was a wonderful job. Done? Okay. Now we are going back again for the video conference, through the video conference. Thank you, wisdom. The coming main speaker, he born in Rome, 1941. He started his artistic activity when he was 15 years old, painting in the Church of San Marco in 1956. And he worked a lot as restorer and also as architect in numerous archaeological missions in Italy, Afghanistan, Turkey, Sudan, and Egypt. Now we're going to have him with us here. He's going to tell us more about Father Vantini, because he was there with Father Vantini. And actually he's the last one. He's still alive. He's the last one who is alive from the project of Sanguitino Church. So we thank God, since 1967, he's the only one who still can witness and can tell us more about it. He's a designer, and he's the one also who designed the Church of Sanguitino in the museum here when they restore it. So let us welcome together Dr. Giuseppe Famponi. You are highly welcome, Dr. Giuseppe Famponi.
Devo parlare?
Sì, avanti, avanti.
Parlo? I take the organization for the meeting in memory of the commitment carried out by Father Vantini to the knowledge of the Nubian history. I took part in the excavation of the Sanguitino Church. The mission of Sanguitino had defined the program year by year, depending on the progress of work, and numerous Italian experts participated according to the needs of the program as described in the text of the present exhibition by Dr. Tiradritti. Gianluigi Tintori, one of the most important Italian restorers of paintings, took part in the recovery of the paintings. With little means, he managed to do an extraordinary job in the area, abandoned and devoid of inhabitants. The long history of Sanguitino originates from a basilical plan, similar to the parallel church, of which the planimetric layout has remained on the opposite bank of the Nile. The two basilicas and the nearby Dief, a fortified village, also studied by Vantini, constituted an important residential center and therefore an essential reference for the local geographic community. The transformation of Sanguitino in a central plan had subsequently and for a long time a monastic function and a sanctuary for pilgrims and for the caravans of goats along the desert. Therefore, the collected archaeological evidence has documented the emblematic importance of Sangi in the geographical context of Christian Nubia. Thus, they justified the necessary expert presence of Father Vantini, and finally, by the Vatican, constituted a recognition of the Christian history of Nubia. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Giuseppe Famponi. It was wonderful, really. Your message really just in the point. Even me, I shocked like it's finished. God bless you. He is now, ladies and gentlemen, he is now 84 years old. God bless you, long life. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Okay, ciao ciao, goodbye, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Francesco. Okay. Now we're going to have the principal of Comboni College of Science and Technology. We're going to have him to tell us more about the vocation of Father Giovanni Vantini as archaeologist and at the same time as a priest. Let us welcome together the principal of Comboni College of Science and Technology, Father Dr. Jorge Naranjo. You are highly welcome.
Good afternoon. And even if our Master of Ceremonies already did good introductions, it is my duty and my pleasure to thank, first of all, the Embassy of Italy for thinking of this, or supporting this project of Dr. Francesco Tiradritti, and also thanks a lot to Francesco for all, he worked a lot, this man, to have this exhibition here. There are a lot of hours of work after that. And it was nice because in the board of founders of the college, we had decided to dedicate this hall to Father Vantini, on the one hand. Then at that time, Dr. Francesco came with this idea, so we decided to put together both initiatives. And I would try to underline some aspects of the life and the work of Vantini that were not said before, because as it happened to Dr. Mahmoud and some of us, maybe those who spoke before us surely shared some things that we had already prepared. When Father Vantini went to Wadi Halfa in '56 for the first time, he was just to celebrate the Easter Mass with the Hawaiians there, no? With the foreigners. This was his mission there. There was a lot of Hawaiians, and also at that time, Christians here in Khartoum, they were very few. 1,400. Because there were no, this Sama Vassallo, the South Sudanese, they had not arrived yet, because we are even at the very beginning of the first civil war. So when he went there, one day he was in the market, and he met the wives of the Polish archaeologists. And so he asked them, what are your husbands doing here? And so the wives took him to the Cathedral of Arras. Then, when he saw that cathedral, he remained amazed. And, you know, I was lucky to read the diary Father Vantini wrote 5 years before dying. It is a kind of notebook with a blue pen, and he says, I started taking photos, asking the experts, writing down the answers and what I saw. Then he traveled back to Khartoum, as also His Excellency Ambassador was describing, and he immediately wrote an article about what he saw in Faras. It was the first time Sudanese people could read about the existence of these archaeological remains. Then, in one of those trips, as also the ambassador was saying, it took 32 hours to come from Wadi Halfa up to Khartoum. He writes like this, these are his words. I read the books of Moneret de Villar, that for those who are experts, they know he was the point of reference concerning Nubian studies. And after listening to all these new discoveries, all of a sudden, the inspiration came, either from heaven or out of a wind. I would like to know everything that Arab medieval historians have written about Nubia. And it is like if God was guiding him in a certain way, because then he went to the University of Khartoum. And there is a Sudanese archaeologist that many of you know, Muhyiddin Abdullah Zarruq, that also wrote a text that helps us to understand also this kind of double dimension of his life. He wrote like this.
in one book which is entitled The Kingdom of Alwa. Vantini demonstrated that the history of Nubian Christianity was once a part of the world Christian community. Its history should be studied within the context of a Christian perspective. Results of his excavation at Faras in the early 60s are the beginning to modify the picture of the medieval period being rapidly overcome by Islam and suggest the coexistence of the two religions over a period of centuries. And I think this would be interesting to deepen into it, that there was this nice coexistence. He is of the opinion that the Nubian church had a long and interesting history which continued more than 1,000 years and is fully as worthy of investigation as the Coptic or other churches. The major point in Vantini's analysis is the notion that Christianity in Nubia was not merely a court religion. Like Islam after it, Christianity was first introduced to Nubia through a gradual process. Its long existence in Nubia has been supported by some surviving cultural practices, which were mentioned by Professor Intisar, like Al-Arba'in, which are not Islamic in character and which are of Christian origin. As you know, still in some Nubian places, they put the blood of the haruf, of the haruf, the goat, on the doors to protect the house, or they take the child to be not baptized but put into the water after birth. So these are elements that were revealed in the book of Vantini, but are known for people from Nubia today. Then some people, they considered him the greatest authority in the field of the history of medieval Nubia. And so maybe some may ask themselves, Yani Kalam Kabir, it is a big word to say that he was the greatest authority. Is there a foundation for that? Here, Dr. Mahmoud Tawari, he says it is true. But why? I want to explain why. Because it's important to understand why. Because, for example, the point of reference, as I said before, concerning the account of the history of Nubia are the books of Hugo Monéret de Villar. This was the point of reference. And he is based upon written sources. The newness of Vantini was to integrate written sources with the results of the excavations. And here new aspects come, because sometimes he found contradiction between the information coming from the excavations and the information coming from the written texts. For example, a point of reference for medieval Nubia is one historian, John of Ephesus. He was the historian of the Emperor of Byzantium. And so he was paid by the Emperor of Byzantium. And you know, when a historian is paid, he's not always so free to say all the truth, okay? And so, but of course, since it's, for some aspects, it's the only written point of reference, so you don't have the way to say he's wrong. But then Vantini found that sometimes excavations contradict. And I think this is also a nice message for any kind of researcher today. Research should be independent and should search for the truth, for objective facts. And I think this is also, as I said, a message for any researcher in any field today. And I think this is one of the points why he was so great, because of this integration of different sources of information. And finally, as a kind of introduction for the graduation project that you will see in a while, I would like to say that Father Vantini was a lecturer here in Comboni College of Science and Technology of Sudanese Studies. It was already during the last years of his presence in Sudan But as some of you remember, every year he was taking all the students to the National Museum. And I think this was a pioneer, not to say, to study history going to the museum, and it's something that we are also trying to give continuity, to take people to the National Museum, and we are always very happy also the collaboration of the camp. But also he was teaching very close to here, you saw maybe the football pitch. On the left there is a building called Sergi, memory of a Comboni brother, who was teaching those Nour people who were coming around the beginning of the First Civil War. They were coming from the bush, from the south, without not knowing ولا كلمة من اللغة العربية, were not a word of Arabic, not mathematics. So both Sergi and also Father Vantini, they were educating these people coming from the bush to be integrated into this new, completely new society for them. So he was working with these people there in a very, very simple people, and at the same time with very top scholars. Just to say why also for us his spirit is a bit around, because also physically he was here teaching. And some years back, I think, well, let us take the students, but it was a request from the students, you must say, not the idea of the administration. The students asked to go to Meroe, to the pyramids, at the Krawiya. So we took them there, and when they came back, students of computer science, information technology, Bachelor of English, not students of history or archaeology. So they started an initiative which was the Cultural Week of the college. They wanted to deepen into their identity. This was their desire. And so we supported their initiatives. Out of that kind of enthusiasm about knowing their own history, a group of students of computer science, they did a project about applications of photogrammetry to cultural heritage. So they did 3D reconstruction of some monuments. They started with the Khalifa's house, and then they presented that work. We have Mariam Sadiq Al-Mahdi, she came to see what our students did. And then this kind of ideas, they said, well, we have to give continuity. And it was possible thanks also to the help of the Embassy of Italy, as we had the support of the Institute of Cultural Heritage of the National Council of Research of Italy to train some of our lecturers and students about this kind of applications. So the work they are going to present now is the result of this training of the project Sudan Innovation. One group will present a virtual visit to the Museum of Kerma, another one to the city of Sawakin, another one a kind of reconstruction of some museums, and the last one it is about ancient polychromy. They will rebuild virtually the wall of one of the walls of the Temple of Muñoz. They are not perfect projects at this stage, but I think they show a wonderful potentiality. Surely they are students of computer science, they are not students of history and archaeology, and their work should be enriched and integrated with the contribution of archaeologists, historians. But I think you will enjoy them, and they will open a screen, a window that inshallah will take us far, so that now as we look backwards to the work of Father Vantini, at the same time we go forward. Thanks a lot for listening.
Thank you very much, the Principal of Comboni College of Science and Technology, Father Dr. Jorge Naranjo. Was amazing really, and thank you also for introducing also the graduates who did a lot of work, the final project, with the help of Italian Embassy. Thank you very much. Grazie. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have the presentation of the graduations project on applications of computer science to the cultural heritage that benefited from the Sudan Innovation Training founded by the Italian Embassy. And thank you also for the Sea Hop company. They helped them and they opened the door, Mr. Levy, to let them just work on. Now let us welcome Idris Abdulrahman and Muna Muhammad and Bethlehem Tisfahun. They're going to, I guess they're around. They're going to present for us the photogrammetric surface and restrictions from emerging for imagery in culture, heritage for Karma Museum. Idris is here on behalf of his group Muna and Bethlehem. You are welcome, Idris. And we're going also to have, after this group of photogrammetric, we're going to have also the ancient photogrammetry study and visual reconstruction. So please, the group, be ready and come near. Sarah Gabriel, Mahasin Omar, and Roman Abdellatief.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First, thank you so much for your coming. Thank you so much for our eminence. And also thank you for giving us another chance to represent our project. Me with my team, Muna Muhammad and Bethlehem Tisfahun, will present the project of photogrammetric service reconstruction from imagery, designing Karma Virtual Museum and 3D modeling. This project is entirely focusing on to transfer the physical cultural heritage type to come up with a virtual, with a physical copy or digital vendor of the cultural heritage site. We have been working on Karma, which is today's present in north of Sudan. One of the greatest cultural heritage sites in Sudan. We all know that is going back to, for some of them coming back to the 4,100 years ago, and some of them about 4,000. So, our main idea why Karma? First, to enhance the income of the country by the hard currency that come from the visitors to visit our cultural heritage site. Also, Karma is, as I told you, is one of the greatest cultural heritage sites in Sudan. And sorry, the idea of linking between computer science and cultural heritage site, or the archaeological scientific. So why transforming the object from inside the museum to come up with the 3D model? Why 3D modeling? Okay, because the 3D help faster conceptual understanding and visual and spatial understanding how the object it will be. Okay, and also it gives an idea about the main object, that how the object looks in the reality. So the same object you see when you visit the museum inside is the same that we have worked and developed in the 3D model. Also, it saves for time to physically visit and to physically visit the museum to see what's going on. So we provide an information that help you. Maybe you not have to visit the museum physically because the cost of of booking and see what's going on. The scope of our main project is we have been working on the Karma Virtual Museum to come up with the full virtual museum that you can see using maybe VR Oculus or you can maybe see with your cell phone, smartphone, or your PC. Also to come up with the website that has the information to help the Sudanese people to learn about the Karma cultural heritage site. Also 3D model for the object and statues inside the museum. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, the group of Idris, Mona, and Bethlehem. God bless you in your finish. Not yet. Okay.
Hello. It's working, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, as my colleagues has already introduced our work, we're going to talk about Karma and how we decided on how could we make museum Karma, which is actually located in eastern and northern part of Sudan, to make it virtual reality so that it can be easy for a tourist who is interested in the northern part of Sudan to tour the museum. So I'm going to talk about the objective of the project, which first we use different kinds of tools to make this project more reliable. That means we use different softwares, for example, like Unity, 3D Max, so that we can make a virtual reality museum and make 3D models for the objects who are actually existing inside the museum. So we pick specific kind of objects, we make a collection of data by taking pictures or photogrammetric surface, and then we applied it to be a 3D modeling. So we want to display as long as possible information about the museum and the information about the tools or the objects who are actually existing inside the museum. So our object is to make those information available to the user, to the visitor or the tourist guide. We also want to make also a 3D modeling for specific kind of objects because there was too many objects inside the museum. So we pick specific kind of object and we make it 3D modeling. Our problem statement. So when we were there, we actually traveled to northern part of Sudan. We go to Kerma, and then we asked the director or the person who is responsible for the museum, what are the problems that faced you there? He said, we have misuse of electronic device or electronic visions. People actually not familiar with the virtual reality or virtual tour. So we try to make that as possible because it's going to be so hard for them to be visiting the museum, especially in the COVID-19 pandemic, and so that we're going to make an electronic version of the museum. And two, because of the long distance, as we say that Kerma is located in northern part of Sudan, so it's going to be so far away from the capital city. As we know, northern part of Sudan is a little bit far from Khartoum, and so that it makes them more available to them to tour the museum. So that's one of our problems. We want to solve it. This is Kerma. Okay. How we make the 3D modeling? So when we go there, we pick the 3D models, the objects are going to be a 3D modeling. We take a collection of data, we analyze the data by using the softwares we just talking about. Then the first step is we make space point cloud, then they turn to be a dense point clouds, and then it goes to make a mesh. After a mesh, we process it to be a 3D models. So that's how the process goes inside the softwares. So thank you very much. I will welcome my colleagues, Mona.
So here we can see this destroying status from Nubta Kings. It's one of the Nubta Kings. So before modeling and after. And next slide. In our next slide, we can see these different photos from different parts of the Kerma. So, starting from the gate, and then the Nubian Palace and the Defufa, and also the museum. And here we can see the electronic versions of Karma museums. Yes. Now we will move to the website to see all these different types of 3D models and the VR museum. So now we're gonna take a look about in our website. So the website is already available in the service of the Comboni. If you enter this, it's a beautiful. So this website have a collection of information about what's Karma, some information about the history of the Nubans, some history of Sudan's. So we collect most of the information that we find over there. Plus, we're gonna show the 3D models that we talk about, and we're gonna have a virtual reality tour. So this is the home part. As you can see, the website has the ability of changing from English to the native language, which is Arabic. So that can be easy for the user to know the information. So our aim is to make the information more available for the tour guide. So here we have the historical part, which are picking informationists, main informationists about based on the century and the year. Here we have some videos. These videos is more specifically talk about Karma and how they pick up the objects or the historical objects and where they found them. So it gives more and more information about it. So we have a photo, a civilization of Karma. So when you go through the museum, you will find that the museum have been classified every station or every class based on the kingdoms. We have the kingdom of Karma, the Middle Ages, the 21 centuries, and also the Nuban and Nabta kingdoms. So if you pick any one, you can go through it and slide through all the pictures and the information part. And there you have the tourist and historical places. Here you can pick whether you want to see the 3D models or you can go through the virtual reality straight ahead. Thank you. So now we will see the 3D models. Okay, we have a collection of them, starting with the destroyed statue, as I mentioned before. And so we have more and more 3D models. Yes. You can see these all 3D models.
Sorry for this part because of the internet connection is a little bit poor, but this is not a video. It's actually when you pick one, and most of the objects who are actually inside this website, we have processed it to be a 3D modeling. So these objects actually exist inside the museum, which is make it a 3D modeling. And by using this framework, So you can pick numbers so that you can specify which one of you first. Okay, so you can see the virtual reality because the time is a little bit for the technical issues we have because of the internet and the timing, but our aim was to see the 3D modeling and the virtual reality. If you wanna see or check our work, you can go through Comboni College. You will find a link inside the Comboni's work projects, and you can go through all the work, and it's available to all of you. So thank you very much, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for this.
We are going to present about the ancient program. Ancient calligraphy is study and visual reconstruction using close-range photogrammetry for the Sudan National Museum. Our project focuses on preserving the heritage from the gradual change. We have a problem and damage caused by natural disaster and unintended human intervention. And we have the National Museum is considered one of the most important Sudanese heritage because it contains liquidities and legacies. And this is the Sudan National Museum. It was established in 1904 and opened in 1971. This is about the Buhain Tamlyn. The first image when he is belly of alive, and the second image he is in the Sudan now. This Tamlyn was built by Egyptian Queen Hatshepsut. His reign about 1500 BC. Okay, welcome to my colleague Mahmoud. Okay, hello. Why we use Buhain Tamlyn? Buhain Tamlyn is one of the most important ancient temple that contain colorful and description and will ensemble into the works. The problem statement. The one of the problem statement, some alternative trees fit in color over long time. Lack of knowledge of the Sudanese historical monument. Some alternatives are not available to large number of the people. Project objective: to create a website contain image of the Buhain Tamlyn before and after a recolor to show the result of the practical application of 3D and to improve a better knowledge of the photogrammetry or programming. Better knowledge of the Asian color or building.
Everybody, my name is Francesco, and I will start by adding the project and software by collecting the data, which is mainly image, and then we're going to start it by putting in a soft. that without overlap with the picture, that allows us to see the color and preserving it. And we're going to start the process by collecting the image, then put it in dense club and point club that allows us to reconstruct the main picture with 3D that allows us, and then we're going to send it to districts, which is a simple algorithm that allows that shows the exact color that in the image. Then we're going to start painting it, which that shows the color before and after the construction. And that's the other object. We did two objects in behind temple. So after all that, we create a website that shows all the historical about behind temple and all of the information there. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Umran, Sir, and Mahasi. God bless you. Now we're going to have also another project, the final project. Thank you for shorting your really wonderful. The 3D. Let's welcome Johanna Cornelius Linda Fernandez, she's absent today, and Mohammed Al-Amin Al-Rashid. You are highly welcome, so please, because of the time. Thank you very much, Johanna Cornelius and Mohammed Al-Amin Al-Rashid, because Linda Fernando is absent. Their project was about 3D reconstruction, documentation, website of culture, heritage in Sudan. The mic for you.
Hello? Our project is 3D documentation website of cultural heritage in Sudan. We just use two museums, National Museum and Military Museum. My name is Johanna and my colleague is going to present. So my colleague is going to present the introduction about this project.
Hello everyone. Good afternoon. Our documentation is about the reconstruction, documentation of cultural heritage in Sudan. The nation always pay a great attention to their cultural heritage by focusing on the preserving it against any gradual change and damage, because accidentally by human or any natural disaster. So most people of Sudan here see the cultural heritage as a dispensable, and that is the wrong approach. The natural heritage is not just a link to the past. It is a catalyst that can uplift communities culturally, economically, and culturally, now and for the generation to come. And this is the reason for the idea to document this cultural heritage by designing the 3D model for the museum's objects. And we choose two museums here in Sudan. The one of them is the military museums, and these museums display an antiquities collections that depict the history of Sudan and the people from Middle East, Asia, and Africa, and include many of the military artifacts. And here the National Museums of Sudan. It is one of the largest legacies here in the country, and include many of the artifacts, statues, and temples. And the building and its surrounding gardens, houses is a large and the most comprehensive Nubian archaeological collection in the world, including objects from the Paleolithic through the Islamic period, originating from every side to important in Sudan. Thank you.
Okay, in this slide we have the project objective and problem statement. We have about 4 objectives. The main objective is to understand the benefit of utilizing a 3D modeling by designing a 3D model of cultural heritage of National Museum and Military Museum. The second objective is to reduce the cost effective by visiting the National Museum and Military Museum physically by accessing our website. So to the third objective is to assist the visitors when they need to reach any information about all resources inside the museums. The fourth one is to provide all information about 3D modeling in a website. The last one is the problem statement. So many people, they cannot reach a national museum and little museum, so we designed this project to help them to know information about this object inside the museums. So here we have applying 3D. How we apply 3D? We use a software that's called Episode, as my colleague said. This is the step of creating a 3D. We started from gathering photo, and the second step is adding photo to Microsoft. Then aligning photo, then building Tansy Cloud, and also building mesh. And the last step, after last step, we have a 3D model as shown in the next slide. Here we have this object from Little Museum. Is a tank from Little Museum. This is before and after we built a 3D model. Next slide. This is stone from a national museum, before and after. So, before conclusion, we can show you our website. We design a website that here we can show it. Okay, no website, okay?
Thank you for understanding, Johanna and Muhammad and Amin. Thank you very much for both of you. Now we're going to have the last graduate final project. We're going to have Fath al-Rahman, Muhammad Ahmed Mubarak al-Tahir, and Mashair Madrasa. You are highly welcome, Mashair Madrasa also. The final project is about applying virtual reality to cultural heritage for all Sawak in Port Sudan. You are highly welcome.
Hello everyone, Mr. Ambassador and all visitors and my tutors. We are so happy to see you, and really we appreciate that you came here to share us. Our project is applying virtual reality to cultural heritage of Sawakin. And as we know, tourism is very important to the economic of world because it contributes up to 15% to gross national product. And also, tourism has impact to many branches like Ministry of Industry, Ministry of Tourism, and hotel industry, and tourism guides, and even air transport industry. Computer science, it's become very important, competitive in this industry. It's help in planning and commercial and even promotion for tourism. Why select Sawakin? Sawakin has old field, long history, and it's a very important economy. And it has a very important economy and developed economy and civilization center, and also affect the life of the Red Sea state and Sudan for many centuries. And also, Sawakin has main port for Africa's pilgrim to hold Al-Kaaba from long time until today. Unfortunately, there is a problem, and don't worry, we have an objective to solve this problem, and my colleague Mashair will going to talk about this.
Hello everyone, good evening. I'm happy to stand here today to present you our project again, and welcome to you. I'm going to talk about the objective of Sawakin Island. We chose the Sawakin Island because it is an important port in in Eastern Sudan. So our objective is why we choose Sawakin. This is the problem is that why we choose Sawakin, because Sawakin is the problem is that Sawakin is facing is the lack of attention from the public, and furthermore, the city must disappear due to geological problem, and also physically the disabled people cannot move around the Sawakin Island. Our objective to increase the knowledge and the tourists to come to visit the Sawakin, and also applying the VR about the city and make endemic it with culture heritage. The photogrammetry technology is the visiting Asia and Sawakin is important and to get more information about the city. The virtual tour software that using the panoramic image, that electronic and digital environment. This is our team. Thank you.
Thank you very much, really. You made it mashallah, really, thanks God for the first time to stand. We'd like also to thank Jonas. Jonas, just say hi to your... Khines, thank you very much. Khines and his wife Natalia, they help really those graduates to come out with this project. A big clap please to all the graduates, and also to Khines and Natalia. Thank you very much. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have the one who crossed the sea.